everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk Sports Talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny, and let's talk Jets football because we are just 2 days away from the draft, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to give you my predictions of what I think is going to happen come Thursday evening, and I'm going to do it in my brand new Sauce Gardner #1 jersey. That's right, the new threads have come out for next season. They are going back to the old school 80s jersey, the white, the green, and of course the beautiful black. And I gotta rep my man Sauce because this Thursday, the question is, who do we take at #1 with the 10th overall pick? Or do we trade back? Do we try to trade up for a wide receiver? I mean, there's a lot of different things that the Jets can do on Thursday. That is the beauty of this draft. They did so much in the offseason to address some positions of need that now they give themselves some viable options going into Thursday's draft. Before the draft, actually before free agency, offensive line was a huge position of need. This whole offensive line literally needed to be revamped. We needed a second wide receiver. I mean, we needed a backup quarterback, a veteran backup quarterback, and they were able to address those needs in free agency. But that doesn't mean that we can't use more help on the offensive line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 scenarios that I can see the Jets doing on Thursday. I'm going to give you my most likely scenario of what I think they will do. I'm going to give you my most unlikely scenario, although it's a very, very sexy one. And I'm going to give you one that I can see happening that might be the best way to go. I just don't know if the Jets are going to do it. But again, this is what we love about the draft, the unknown. What happens? The Jets have no longer locked themselves into definitely taking an offensive lineman. This is why I don't do mock drafts in February or in the beginning of March. I wait till after free agency as it gets closer to the draft, because then you've realistically seen what the Jets have done, what teams have done to fill positions of need. And then you also see how players, have the tendency in the draft to be ranked higher, lower. I mean, they're up and down, until basically the week before the draft, and after the combine. But the crazy part about it, like I said, is that I'm really, really happy. I'm happy to admit that the Jets did their thing in free agency so far to fill some positions of need. So again, now they give themselves some viable options. The first thing that I want to talk about is what I think is the most unlikely scenario to happen, although I personally like it to happen for a bunch of different reasons. The first 3 picks in the draft are basically going to be quarterbacks. We all know that. Chicago is going to pick #1. They're going to take Caleb Williams more than likely. Drake May will probably go #2. To the Washington Commanders. We all know that the Patriots are going to take a quarterback. I'm not sure who. And then you got #4. And that's where Marvin Harrison Jr. is projected to go to the Cardinals. So my scenario here is the Jets trade up to #4 to try to get Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think would be a phenomenal trade up because Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a stud in this league. If you think Garrett Wilson is good, Marvin Harrison Jr. is that dude. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Buckeye fan. Trust me when I tell you, I've seen every snap that this kid has taken. He's a great route runner, great hands, great instincts. I mean, he is a tough receiver, can go and get the football, make tough catches. Without a doubt, depending on where this kid goes, if he's the #1 target, and I'm sure he will be the #1 target, he's going to put up 1,000 yards in his sleep. He is that good. Imagine Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same team opposite each other. I mean, as a Buckeye fan and as a Jet fan, I'd be totally ecstatic. I tell you that right now. But I don't think that that'll happen. I don't think that the Jets are going to want to trade future draft capital. And there have been talks that even if they do want, one of those stud receivers, that they could possibly move up to #5 and trade with the Chargers and take Malik Neighbors, who is also going to be a special playmaking receiver in this league. I mean, speed, separation, route running, hands. This kid can also do it all as well. But I really don't see how the Chargers will pass on a receiver, especially after losing Mike Williams. I think they're going to want a playmaker unless the thought process there is to go offensive lineman. I don't know, to protect Herbert. The best bet for the Jets will be trying to move up to get, to get that fourth pick from the Cardinals and try to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. But I just don't see how that happens unless the Cardinals are in that mode right now where they want to try to recoup as much picks as possible to build a better team around, what they currently have on the roster with Kyler Murray and so forth. So I don't know. I don't see that happening. I don't think that Joe Douglas would trade up for a wide receiver. But man, God, when you talk about sexy, it doesn't get more hot than that, man. Now, the draft scenario that I think most likely happens on Thursday is I think the Jets will stand pat at number 10 and take the player that they really like at that spot. Right now, the rumor is they really like Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. And trust me when I tell you, he's grown on me. I've seen his tape. This kid can be special. He's sort of that hybrid, not that traditional bigger tight end, but make no mistake, he can block, he can run routes, he has great hands. He has a flair for the dramatic. And you could also line him up in the slot as a receiver as well. Why not take a tight end and have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, especially when you are looking at an offense that was anemic last year? Listen, a lot of people will say, well, we already have Conklin, we already have Jeremy Ruckert. So another weapon on the roster, the more the merrier, right? I mean, you can run 2 tight end sets with Conklin, and you can run him with Brock Bowers on the field at the same time. You can line him up as a slot and in the slot as a receiver. I think he would be dynamic in this offense. And like I said, this offense was anemic, man. So the sexy pick is to go for somebody that's going to be a playmaker. And I like the Brock Bowers pick. I think the Jets like him too. They brought him in for a visit. Aaron Rodgers was there. And if Aaron Rodgers likes this kid, there's probably a strong chance that they're going to take him at 10. And that's what I think they do if I had to predict. They have done a good job to revamp the line with some veteran free agent signings. But again, there is some injury concerns there. So if they do stay put at 10, maybe they go offensive lineman instead. I mean, and that would not be a bad idea. It's not the sexy pick, like your average fan would like to see. And, Morgan Moses' contract, if I'm not mistaken, is up at the end of the season. Tyron Smith, again, as good as he is, a lot of injury concerns there. I mean, obviously, everybody loves Joe Alt. But, I don't think that he drops past Tennessee. If he does and he's there, I think the Jets should take him regardless if Bowers is there. I think by far he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, at least on my board. But again, Olu Fashanu, guys like Latham, there's a lot of different options that you can go at. And let's say hypothetically you still were in love with the aspect of getting, another receiver into this offense. You got a Dunze from Washington, the receiver from Washington who will potentially be there as well. So again, if you stay at 10, you got a lot of different options. You can go wide receiver, you can go with the best tight end in the draft, Brock Bowers, or you can go offensive lineman. And then the last scenario I have, which is probably the most smartest one, considering the Jets don't have a second round pick this year. After 10, if they stand pat, they don't pick into the early 70s, they may want to trade back a bit. But here's the thing that I would have caution about. I don't want them to trade too far back. Meaning, I think 13 is a good spot with the Las Vegas Raiders. The reach is possibly 15 with the Indianapolis Colts, but I'd be more comfortable with 13. If I was the Jets, I wouldn't trade farther back than 13, because if they trade with the Las Vegas Raiders, I think that there's still a really good opportunity that they get one of the better offensive linemen at 13. I think one of those guys, especially JT Latham, will be there at 13. You start messing around with 15, 16, then you run the risk of losing all these guys because they'll potentially be gone by then. What do you do next, right? Then you have to go with, the best player available, even though it may not be a position that we can potentially make stronger, come the start of the season. So I've been hearing a lot of rumblings, especially with some Raider fans that I know, that the Raiders want to move up to 10 to potentially take a quarterback, possibly Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. If they like those two guys, I think they will be there at 10. Trade back, trade with the Raiders. Make sure you recoup a second round pick this year. You take their 13 and you take a pick in the second round. That way you have a pick in the second, third, and multiple picks in the later rounds as well. I wouldn't be mad at that. It might be the most wisest thing to do, albeit it isn't the most sexiest thing to do, because you probably lose, Brock Bowers will be gone by then. Out of those three, like I said earlier, Although I don't mind the trade back, although I would love the trade up, for my guy, I think the Jets stay put at 10. I really do. I think, if I had to make a prediction, and again, I don't have, an inside word on what they're going to do, but if my gut tells me anything, I think they really like Brock Bowers at 10, and I think they stay there and they take him. But either way, like I said earlier, this is the beauty of the draft because they've given themselves some options. You don't know what they're going to do. You're going into the draft with a lot of excitement and more than likely the element of surprise, and it doesn't get any better than that. Regardless, if they do well on the draft on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I think they've positioned themselves to have an A grade in the offseason and a team that could potentially go into the regular season with a shot not only to make the playoffs, but potentially win the AFC East and make a strong run at it, barring injury. And of course, the coaching staff has to be able to step up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think the Jets should do? Should they stand pat at 10, take Bowers, take an offensive lineman? Should they trade up and get one of these receivers? Should they trade back and recoup some picks? I'd be really curious to hear what you say in the comment section. And as always, if you're new to watching my videos, please subscribe, hit that like button. This is how we do it up here at the Hangout Spot. Lots of Jets talk coming in the next few weeks. We got boxing. You know how we do it there. Make sure you're along for the ride. And as always, make sure you enjoy the draft. This is your boy Johnny. I appreciate the love. Signing out from the Hangout Spot. And I'll talk to everybody soon.